Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're going to be going over the fastest sports classic cars in Grand Theft Auto Online for circuit racing. This is not about top speed, this is not about on the drag strip, this is purely about racing on actual tracks. A couple things have changed since the last time that I recorded one of these videos, so I figured it was time to update it. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and get into it, starting off with number 10. At number 10 we have the Ocelot Swinger coming in at $909,000. The Ocelot Swinger is a car that has a lot of customization and is very good for circuit racing, albeit not as good as some of the other cars on this list that are going to be closer to the top obviously, but still this thing is pretty solid, and for free mode it is certainly a fun car. It has really good acceleration, the handling is pretty good as well. It does tend to have a little bit of an oversteer bias, which is fine by me. I think that that is what you will probably prefer over understeer, and it also has a relatively good top speed as well. The Swinger definitely can be a competitive car, although some of the cars at the top of this list are just going to be way off the pace of the Swinger, but if you're on last gen or PC, the Swinger could potentially compete with a lot of the cars on this list, especially the next like 3 or so that are ahead of it on the list. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into number 9. At number 9 we have the Pegassi Torero coming in at $998,000, just shy of $1 million. This is based off of the Lamborghini Countach in real life. Very famous car, I'm sure many of you know it. It's got a lot of customization, definitely some things that can help to make it a little bit better for racing. For example, going for a smaller wing, as well as potentially putting an underglow kit on the car can definitely help this thing. What I will say about the Torero is it does have extremely good acceleration and a very high top speed. However, the handling is its biggest issue. It does tend to oversteer a little bit, and it oversteers at like the worst times. You'll be fine going into the corner, and then all of a sudden the rear end of the car just starts to come around. Now I will say with the Torero, it is pretty easy to catch it. It is pretty manageable overall, but it definitely is something that you're going to have to watch. I wouldn't recommend the Torero for really twisty sports classic circuits. I don't think that this thing will do very well. However, on long straightaway ones with few corners, I think that the Torero will be quite good actually. At number 8 we have the Vapid Retinue Mark II coming in at $1.2 million all the way up to $1.6 million if you do not have the trade price for this vehicle. The Vapid Retinue Mark II is one of the most expensive cars on this entire list, and as far as last gen is concerned, it is actually the most expensive car on the list. However, it doesn't have the best performance of all the cars on the list obviously. The Retinue, I will say, is very good acceleration wise and top speed wise, similar to a lot of the other cars we've gone over sort of. The handling is also pretty decent, however it does tend to oversteer, which isn't necessarily an issue until it becomes one. The oversteer on this car can be a little hard to manage sometimes. Overall I feel like it is pretty good, but it definitely could be a lot better. It does have a lot of customization, and for free mode this is certainly a great car. However, for the racetrack I can't necessarily recommend picking up the Retinue Mark II over some of the other vehicles because it is just so much more expensive with honestly kind of middle ground performance unfortunately. So with that being said, let's move on to number 7. And here at number 7 we have the Pegassi Infernus Classic coming in at $915,000. And I'm going to go ahead and get the elephant in the room out of the way. The handling on this car is pretty weak. The handling, it's kind of annoying actually to drive this vehicle. It's really strange because sometimes the handling will be completely fine, as you guys will see throughout this gameplay, which I find to be very frustrating because this car can be really good and then it can just be absolutely terrible at the same time. So it's not super great, I would say. I'd say this, very similar to the Pegassi Torero, is a more straightaway suited race car. It is very fun for free mode, don't get me wrong. If you want to pick this thing up for free mode exclusively, it is great. However, for the racetrack, I would definitely stick to some of the other cars on this list, especially some of the ones that are even cheaper than this car. It does have great acceleration, it definitely has a good top speed, it's got some nice customization. Overall, I think it's a great looking car, however, the handling is very frustrating. So for that reason, I can't necessarily recommend this one for racing, just for free mode. And at number 6, we have the Benefactor Sterling GT coming in at $975,000, which is a pretty fair price considering what you get with the Sterling GT. This is regarded as one of the best sounding cars in all of Grand Theft Auto Online, and with the release of the Criminal Enterprises DLC, this vehicle got some new customization. It got a couple of livery options as well as a new spoiler option. I believe the roll cage is also a new option, as well as a few other things, which was very nice to see for the Sterling GT. This car is really good in every single way. It accelerates well, it has a very good top speed, and the handling is also very good. So for $975K, this car I would say is better than any other car that we've gone over on the list so far. It's sort of a whole package deal, and it's great to drive around in free mode and just chill in because the engine sound is just so nice. The Sterling GT also looks great. I feel like this is one of the best sports classic cars for racing. However, there are some that are technically on paper a little bit faster. So let's go ahead and get into number 5. And at number 5, we have the DUGG Rapid GT Classic, coming in at $885,000, which is a little bit cheaper than the Sterling GT even. And this car is quite a lot of fun to drive. It's got a lot of customization. The acceleration is very good, the top speed is also very good, and the handling is quite good. I would say not quite as good as the Sterling GTs because it does tend to have an oversteer sort of bias to it, but it is very manageable, I must say that. If this thing oversteers, you can catch it no problem at all. And if anything, it actually helps you to get a quicker turn in, so that is kind of nice for circuits that are going to be a little bit twistier in the sports classic category. And then obviously with a great turn in and then a great acceleration to get out of the turn, you will probably be able to take off on some people with the DUGG Rapid GT Classic. However, it still gets beat by a couple more cars, so let's go ahead and move on to number 4. At number 4, we have the Grotti Cheetah Classic coming in at $865,000, and this is the second fastest vehicle on last gen or PC for sports classic racing. For the price, I think that this thing is super good. It's also got some nice customization options. The acceleration is great on it. The top speed is also pretty awesome, and the handling is very good as well. Now, the only issue that I really have with the Cheetah Classic is the handling is ever so slightly oversteer biased, and it's kind of annoying where it will just kind of jump out at you and all of a sudden the tail end is out on the car. Not the end of the world, it is very easy to correct with this thing, but I will forgive it because of the customization. This car is absolutely awesome for free mode, and it's also great for racing like I've been saying. This is definitely one that you're going to want to look into. The Cheetah Classic is by far the best looking sports classic car in the entire game, in my opinion. Let's move on to number 3. And at number 3, we have the Grotti Turismo Classic, coming in at $705,000, which is a pretty fair price, all things considered. This has been the fastest sports classic car in Grand Theft Auto Online on last gen and PC for a very long time. Nothing can really hold a candle to it. It's got some good customization. The acceleration is absolutely fantastic. The top speed is also very high, and the handling is super manageable. It does tend to oversteer if you accelerate in a corner and you're going at a very high speed and you're turning for a long period of time. For example, say you're doing like a 180 on a racetrack, the tail end of this thing will start to spin out, but for the most part, it is going to stay in check for a lot of the race. It's obviously based off the Ferrari F40, which I think is very fitting that this is the fastest sports classic car in GTA Online, and it's based off the F40 in real life. I think that Rockstar did a good job there. The Turismo Classic is certainly a fantastic car. Definitely look into this thing if you guys are interested. It's great for free mode, and it is the best race car for the sports classic category in all of Grand Theft Auto Online. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the fastest cars in the sports classic category due to HSW upgrades, which are exclusive to the expanded and enhanced edition of Grand Theft Auto Online, which is exclusive, obviously, to the Xbox Series S and X and the PlayStation 5. And at number 2, we have the Benefactor Sterling GT HSW, coming in at $975,000 for the actual car itself, and an additional $900,000 for the HSW upgrade on top of it. The Sterling GT HSW becomes one of the fastest top speed cars in all of Grand Theft Auto Online once you put this upgrade on it. The handling also improves, and obviously the acceleration also improves as well. In addition to this, it also gets a little bit more customization that you can do to it in the House Special Works workshop found within the LS Car Meet. The Sterling GT still has all the same great features that it did when I covered it for the last gen consoles. It's just honestly improved in pretty much every single way. The only thing is it might handle slightly worse due to the extra power, especially in the corners, but still, it is much faster than it otherwise would be if it was a non-HSW Sterling GT. And of course, now it's time to move on to the number 1 fastest sports classic car in Grand Theft Auto Online on the expanded and enhanced edition, and it's still the Grotti Turismo Classic, just with the HSW upgrade. So this thing is going to cost you $705,000 for the initial price of the car, and an additional $897,000 for the HSW upgrade on top of that. So this is very cheap. It's actually cheaper than the Benefactor Sterling GT HSW by a couple $100,000, so that's awesome. And the Turismo Classic with the HSW upgrade just improves upon the regular Turismo Classic, as you might have guessed. It's faster, it has a higher top speed, and the handling is honestly even better. This car is fantastic, definitely one of my favorite HSW cars to drive around in Grand Theft Auto Online. Super fast, has great handling, looks amazing. Again, with the How Special Works upgrade in the workshop, you do get access to a couple of extra options for the vehicle, including some livery options, which is very nice to see. Anyway guys, that is it for the top 10 fastest sports classic cars in Grand Theft Auto Online. Let me know what your favorite sports classic car is in the comments down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, dislike if you didn't of course, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.